think just for
at the right time.
No, I think at the right time, but for now, I think it's best to just withdraw that phone call so that we just make progress on the matter that we're here for.
I can't withdraw, Chair, even if I'm to end my discussion here, because my presentation today, history will prove me right. I know, and I'll table at the right time.
But you see, you've mentioned it in this committee, and once something is mentioned on this committee and the member has clearly asked for the substantiation, if you cannot provide that at the moment, it's best, as you said, when you have that opportunity to present it again, then you can come up with the substantiation. But for now, I'll kindly and respectfully ask you to withdraw so that we just, you're doing a very important presentation. Let's not lose that. The Honorable Ndindi Nyoro.
Chairman, let me withdraw to postpone it to a later date.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead, proceed.
Chairman, have you looked at mobile termination rates? What conditions precedent did we give to the buyers? Conditions precedent, and as I'm repeating, is this, Chair. You want to sweeten the deal. In the markets, we say sweetening the deal. So that, okay, I'm selling this cow, but I'm also selling with the calf. You try to sweeten. So, the condition precedent we gave is actually bigger than what we are selling. So we lose money on one hand through CA, one on licenses, 5 of them, over 100 billion shillings. Secondly, on this other side, Chair, we are here now pushing Kenyans into a corner through mobile termination rates. I know you'll do that homework. I'm almost finishing, Chair. Chairman, I would want this committee to investigate further because the buyer we are having is not beyond reproach. If we are dealing with a buyer who is beyond reproach, the market would quiet and no one would have an issue. But then we are here dealing with a buyer who has already proven to the Kenyan people that they cannot be trusted, and especially with integrity. When Safaricom share was being listed, I was working for a stockbroker when I was in university. And therefore I have the details of that listing. Chairman, there was a company called Mobitelea, which owned 5% of Safaricom by the time of listing. Previously they owned more. If you look at the listing memoranda of Safaricom, this was how the shares were allocated. 35% was to be listed, 35% was GOK. 35% was our buyers. 40% in the market, which we all own. Now, Chairman, in the current memoranda, which was released by the same buyers, they now have 40%. Let me rephrase so that I am on record, I am correct. By the time of listing, 35% was GOK. That's 35%. 35% was our buyers. That is 70%. 5% was a company called Mobitelea, which was a vehicle of political patronage. The amount that was listed in the NSC was 25%, not the statement I had said before. So we listed 25%, it is in the market. All of a sudden, in this memoranda, now government has 35%, but our buyers already bought Mobitelea. So it means then the buyers were in cahoots with Mobitelea. Can Kenyans trust this company to be above board when it comes to this transaction when they already have shown their true colors in terms of integrity insofar as Mobitelea is concerned? Second one, and this one members take it now just like the one for condition precedent. Seriously. Chairman, we are here being told about market price of Safaricom, but there is something we are not being told. That the Safaricom share price has some shades of the company share having been suppressed in the last 1 year. In June of this year, when the buyers knew there would be this transaction, they did something clever. they immobilized their shares, 16 billion shares. They immobilized their shares for the first time since the listing. Do you think that is normal, Chair? Immobilization means this. The shares were in certificate form, just like many other government like many other government stakes, they are not in the market. They are usually held even in certificate form. So what happens, you have to mobilize this share to go into the CDSC. So what did our buyers do? They immobilized 16 billion shares. What does that do? It sends signals to the market of an increase in supply of the same share. So what did the share do? Just exactly as the buyers intended. The share became suppressed. So as the market has been so bullish in Kenya, in other counters, Safaricom bullish but measured. Why? Because the market is already signaled that there is a 16 billion immobilized share by somebody who can sell today. Sell meaning they can supply to the market today afternoon. That CMA has to investigate whether there is even any share out of the 16 billion that has been offloaded out of the immobilized stake. Chair, as I go to the close, transaction, I had the National Treasury talks about KCB. This is how this market works, Chair. And I'm saying it in good faith and in humility. If you want to know, there is no other hand. One, and especially in the transaction cost, because it is abnormal. Transaction costs in the NSE, they are based on some parameters. And the more, the cheaper. If you buy 2 shares today worth the 2,000 shillings, in percentage, you may end up paying a higher commission, but it's already capped at 2%. So you can't pay more than 2%. But what the brokers do, the more the weight of the transaction, the cheaper the commission. Now, when I heard that Kenya is paying a commission of an average of 1.5%, then I knew this is a red flag. You just need to do one thing as a committee. Tell KCB to do in writing whether they have something called a stockbroker's agent. That will cure that maneno. They do in writing to commit themselves. Because being a listed company, they'll still report in their financial year whether there is any cost that was incurred in this commission. Stockbrokers agents, how would they do? You go to a stockbroker and say, this is my deal. And then you are put into the system as an agent. Then you are given between 35 to 50% of the commissions your client generates. So you just need to ask KCB in writing whether in this transaction there is a stockbroker's agent. Because if there is one, second question is, why do you actually need an agent? A company that is already being controlled by GOK. KCB, the chairman, is appointed by government, and the board composition is appointed by government based on the 19% stake. So why would you need an agent for you to connect Kengen to Kenya Power, for example? Why? So, chairman, whatever savings we make, it should go to the Kenyan people. But the way to cure that, let them commit. And then Parliament will check later whether in this transaction there was associated cost of an agent, because that is how things can happen. Lastly, the way forward, I have always said it, and I know 100%, Kenya may end up getting over 350 billion Kenya shillings if we fall part of them. And the many suggestions that I have heard from many people who have appeared before you, Chair. One, this issue of listing Safaricom came up even when I was in the corridors of power. So it's not something new to me. And therefore, whatever I'm saying is just to remind even the people who are there today. But there were better proposals than now. Why are we falling back to inferior proposals? The proposal which I would give, which even them they know, break Safaricom into 3. And you're not doing anything much. Breaking in paper, you're not breaking it like with Nyundo. Break Safaricom into a telco. Number 2, into a fintech. And number 3, into a tower company. The sum total of the 3 will be much more valuable than the whole. That's one. The second option, that is one option. The second option, if we really need money so fast and you don't have time to break down, it is very simple. It will take us very little time to list Safaricom PLC in the London Stock Exchange. The London Stock Exchange now, they are actually begging people to list in London because the global market have tilted towards America. So the LSE is now dry in terms of listing. If you show a signal you want to list, they can even send their finance minister here in Kenya tomorrow to list in the LSE. Once we list in the LSE, we expose Safaricom into the global markets. So people who don't know Safaricom, they only know M-Pesa, they'll get to know there is this profound company called Safaricom. It is actually the owner of M-Pesa, because M-Pesa is actually more known globally than Safaricom. What does that do? It creates interest. Chairman, after that, within the same option. After listing the LSE, open bids, international bids, for only 2 months, Kenya will be surprised that we will have people bidding even above the current consideration because of the other parameters that I gave. And I can bet to you, Chairman, and this issue is very weighty in my heart, is very heavy in my heart. The market already knew that Etisalat wanted to buy Vodacom. It was already known in the market. And therefore, I will not be surprised if our buyers today, next month, they are on sale. Why can't Kenya be patient for 2 months? We go directly to the main buyer and we get the right valuation. When we open an international bid, I can guarantee you we'll have the same buyers bidding at a higher price. We'll have Orit bidding at a higher price. You'll have Etisalat themselves bidding. You can have investment vehicles like BlackRock bidding, like Blackstone. Eventually, Kenya will get more, as the story I gave about Rea Vipingo. So my submission, Chairman, is let us open this bid to international bidders. And we lose nothing. If Kenya gets an additional 150 billion, I thought the mileage will go to government. They'll build more roads. So, I mean, everyone benefits. Why can't we be patient for 2 months and we get a higher price, Chairman? Thank you very much. And as I submit, we look about the dividend. This is another securitization, as you know, of dividend. I would want to know even from the committee, maybe separately. You know, there's something called MTDS, whether it's actually part of it. We are now securitizing dividend. This dividend was part of our Appropriations Act, the current one. Because part of our revenues, the dividend is part of it. So we have securitized. I may ask many questions even about the current IPO that is ongoing. The proceeds were part of the Appropriations Act. So don't we see a mismatch? We have securitized dividend for the next many years, yet in our long-term and medium-term planning as a country, it is already accounted for as a revenue direct to the consolidated fund. I think Kenyans deserve answers on that. Thank you, Chair. I may give more rejoinders as we interact with members. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, for your excellent presentation and submission to the committee. Members, you've had the stakeholder. Now I'll be calling him a stakeholder. He's here as a stakeholder.
Like what?
So, members, yes, Mheshimiwa Ariko.
Okay, thank you,
And
Chair.
I will give it to Mheshimiwa Kaluma, then Mheshimiwa Kiru.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I need to say that I need to present, to appreciate the presentation, a well-informed and insightful presentation by our stakeholder, Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, on this matter of divestiture of Safaricom. Honorable Chair, I wanted to ask Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, because he was Chair for Budget, during the said period where the shares of Safaricom started dropping from the figure you just mentioned of 40 something shillings per share. That was the period between 2022 to 2023. And from my research indicated that the shares came down because of interference of government and further investments in these other regions because of risk-averse nature of some of the shareholders. That's one aspect I wanted to ask Honorable Ndindi Nyoro. Secondly, he talked about materiality of the transaction. It is true that this transaction is material, and the shares are supposed to be sold at the secondary market. And we are informed even these other shareholders were not aware or were not informed of this particular transaction. What is the practice when there is such material transaction by one of the shareholders? I thought this matter must have been brought in a special AGM meeting or annual general meeting. Was there such a meeting that was held? Because I'm well informed that he's one of the shareholders in this particular institution. On the issue of the representative, of government representative in this transaction, he has been in government for more than 10 years. And in fact, is a major person who has been fronting economic aspects of government. Now, because he has changed his mind to go to the other side, and that's what I normally talk of ironies of some of the leaders. When they are in government, they are positive on all the aspects of government. But when you run away from the government, you start being opposing everything. So what I'm trying to ask
you may need to call the member into order. Ndindi Nyoro ran away from the government. What is the aspect?
Ndindi Nyoro has been a chair, is a member of parliament, and I think he's still a member of parliament. So
Chair,
that has not.
You see, there's a saying that
What's your point of order, Mheshimiwa Mboni?
I think the government has three hands. It's the executive, judiciary, and the legislature. So Ndindi Nyoro, Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, being a member of parliament, is part and parcel of the government. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable
Chairman, they also.
I know what. Let's allow the Honorable Ariko to continue with his points kindly.
Chair, there's a mindset saying.
Mheshimiwa Ariko, there's a point of order. What's your point of order, Mheshimiwa?
Chairman, I want you to provide guidance so that we don't degenerate from the main business of why we are here to politics of government and not government. This is a serious business for all Kenyans who are taxpayers.
I think, as Mheshimiwa Makamba suggested, can we kindly
history provides us insight into what we are discussing.
Yes.
What we are discussing. There is a mindset saying that a jealous family member is more dangerous than a hateful enemy. You can brainstorm around that. Let me continue with my.
Please, let's continue on the subject matter that has brought all of us here. Mheshimiwa
Honorable
Ariko.
Ndindi has not made a presentation of the true intrinsic value of Safaricom so that we can base our argument on his presentation. As a scholar, the presentation of Honorable Ndindi is from a scholarly world. So I want to appreciate that. but he has deficit in terms of giving us the intrinsic value of Safaricom and how much are we supposed to sell these particular shares. What is the best valuation model? From his presentation, I have observed that he wants us to go into the competitive market. The secondary shares are supposed to be competitive. And just because he has given us some insight on the internal dealings, where one person has clear information or correct information over a particular issue, and this issue is about the valuation of the company, it's about the price of the share, and in fact, the future prospects of the company. What interest is Safaricom going to get from the future prospects of the company, which are more valuable than the current state of Safaricom? Finally, Chair, because I've handled on the issue of competitive process, Honorable Ndindi has talked about the stock brokers. He has mentioned about KCB, and probably it's about the transaction advisor. What is the position of Organization for Economic Development, OECD, on the transaction advisor? Because it has guided on the ceiling for transaction advisor, which I said earlier, somewhere last week, that it is between 0.5% to 1.8%. And from the presentation of Treasury, the transaction advisor percentage is 1.3, which from my professional point of view is within the bracket. Thank you, Chair.
Mheshimiwa Kaluma, then Mheshimiwa Kirwa, then Mheshimiwa Paul.
Chair, let me join the members in commending Honorable Ndindi Nyoro for coming forth to participate in this process at this stage. I know as a member of parliament he'll have another stage, but this is bold. It's also a Kenyan. And so let me thank him for requesting our clerk to permit his presence to make these presentations at this stage. I know we may also visit other counties during public participation, take interest and join them. And Chair, let me thank you also for following Honorable Ndindi's request, allowing him to appear before us. Listening to Honorable Ndindi, Chair, I'm asking why he didn't request to join us as a stakeholder, so that a number of these questions he's raising would help us as representatives of the people to raise them with these various bodies coming here. In fact, makes me think, Honorable Chair, that because I know we could be having Central Bank of Kenya today, later on, Honorable Ndindi should stay around. Because ultimately, if he stays around in that capacity, he can join us as representatives of the people in interrogating these matters. Why do I say so, Chair? Chair, when Honorable Ndindi indicated he's coming and you told us so in the morning, you remember we adjourned briefly. And we were very elated. We thought there is a smoking gun. And he has come and he has started as if there is a smoking gun. But I'm still waiting for the gun to discharge. The gun is not discharging. Makes me think there is something Honorable Ndindi is withholding. Honorable Ndindi, don't fear. You're in Parliament. Tell us, release the smoking gun. You see, Honorable Chair, Honorable Ndindi started by saying there is an issue with valuation. Then he said, I know, to use my own words, some conspiracies, and I'm going to give details of people. Do we go in camera, you give us these details? Because Honorable Ndindi, you know the attitude of some of us with anything that is corrupt or collusion. In fact, I was waiting, Chair, you saw me take my pen, and I've been waiting. I just wanted to hear so and so, so and so, so and so, so and so is involved, and is depriving Kenyans of their rightful asset. You know, Honorable Ndindi has come, gone round. I want to request Honorable Ndindi that on that second limb, and I can tell you, you know Peter Kaloma as you do other members of this committee, if you were to point to us that there is some conspiracy, some corrupt practice around this matter, Honorable Ndindi, I can tell you, we would adjourn all the other hearings and this committee will make a decision on my intervention. And you know me. So I would still request and ask very humbly, my brother, having come forth, the generalities you have spoken here, you could speak on the floor. Give us the details of these people you indicate you will give. The better if the media is there. But if you need in camera, please stay on. But I return my ask to the chair to allow you to sit through. You are entitled with the permission of the committee, as a friend of the committee. Chair, valuation has been a matter disturbing us a lot. And I agree with Honorable Ndindi, we are not sitting here just as parliament. We are sitting here representing Kenyans in the sale of their assets, which if we were not sitting as representatives here, Kenyans would have been met elsewhere and they would have raised issues. And by the way, we've been raising these issues. When we raised the issue of valuation, they told us there is something called market price. And we were told if you go to the stock market now and Safaricom shares are listed there, you will get between 28, 29. We were told there is something called PE ratio, which I see you repeating here. And you are taken through these calculations. The price earning ratio. I'm not an economist, I'm a lawyer. But we were taken through the details. We were told about intrinsic value. And if you've been following proceedings, I've been speaking to what Safaricom is in our telecom space, in our mobile money transfer space, and in our image and heritage as a country wherever you go across the world. I thought when you mentioned you are coming to guide us on valuation, you know, you would leave us here with a model of computation complete with how we arrive at a figure which we can tell Kenyans as representatives, this is the fair value. You know, Chair, we are at a position no better than where we were before Honorable Ndindi Nyoro came. And these are questions we've been asking. So Honorable Ndindi, could you, beyond what you've said, using all these methods, by way of arithmetics, you know, demonstrate to us how we can come to a better share value so that we determine this issue and we make a determination together with you, which we will present to you to approve or not. Beyond the fact that you are saying, if we went for competition, we would yield better. We've raised the issue of competition and Kenyans have been seeing. Now, beyond the issue of competition, please let us know your justification for saying that Kenya going beyond the price in the market of 28, 29 to 34 still is an undervaluation. And if so, still in your view, give us what would be the right valuation with a clear pathway to it so that we can pursue it. Number 3, Chair, I'm a lawyer, I'm not a finance guy. Honorable Ndindi is speaking to the matter of valuation of a company. What we are dealing with here is valuation of shares, not a company. I know the value of the company may be one consideration you take to your intrinsic value, which I've requested you to compute. But I think we need to understand that the only benefit you get from shares are dividends as and when they're declared. Share in company law, companies are what we call persona juridica, juridical persons. You don't own the assets of the company.